So, guys at the park with one of his small kids today, flying kites, playing catch, doing what, good dads would do with their kid. Not that we would know anything about that. And he sees, the boy sees a couple, dogs going at it, really, really going at it in the, the biblical sense. And he said, "Dad, what are those dogs doing?" And Dad's like, that's just how dogs make puppies. Hey, look at that. Let's go over there." He didn't want to dive in too deep to it. A couple days later, the guy's home, grinding away with the little woman, and the son walks in on him, and son sees his dad on top of his mom, naked, going at it. And he's like, "Dad, what are you doing?" "Oh, this is just how mommy and me make babies." "Well, roll mama over. I want a puppy."
This is a test of the emergency podcast system. The podcasters in your area, in voluntary cooperation with state, local, and federal authorities, have developed this system to keep you informed and inventive comedy. If this were actual comedy, the joke you just heard would have been followed by laughter, followed by official instructions. This concludes our test of the emergency podcast system.
Hello, Joe.
Hi, Jacques. Welcome to Carnival Personnel.
So I'm just going to dive right in. We won't even give the normal pleading for people to follow us on the Twitter and Facebook and get right into it. Joe, fuck the NRA.
I don't want to, though.
Everything they are, and we've said it not jokingly, we've said it jokingly, single-handedly the biggest terror organization plaguing our country.
Michael Ian Black on Twitter frequently tweets the sentence, "The NRA is a terrorist organization."
I don't know how anybody could argue anyway. And the worst thing is, the Muslim Brotherhood that legally won the election and in Egypt a few years ago, people around the world were like, "Hey, that's a terrorist organization," and worked very hard, and a military coup overthrew it and hasn't stepped down yet. But it's our terrorist organization, the NRA, controls one of the two. We're a two-party system. I mean,
yeah,
whatever you want to say. I mean, we are essentially a two-party system, and they own the GOP.
Now, the party systems we're talking about are House Party and and a podcast party, because we all know that a podcast party can't stop. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just have to derail. I can't talk about murdered kids.
Well, that's it. And it's this horrible shooting this past week was the 18th this year. And then you do the math. And the math on that, it's 29 school days. In the calendar year 2018, as of the taping of this podcast, in 29 school days, there's been 18 school shootings. And just the numbers, but staying on topic as far as this go, the fact that the NRA gives the talking points to one party more than the other. Yes, there are a couple Democrats out there who have NRA memberships or take money from the NRA, but you can't compare the two. You just can't. In the state of California, it's interesting enough, there isn't any congressperson in Washington from California who's a Democrat who's taken any NRA money. There isn't a GOP member who hasn't. And when you look at the upteen hundreds of millions of dollars. And again, it turned out that, one of the wings of Mueller's investigation, some of the money donated to the BLOTUS campaign from the NRA is alleged to have come from Deutsche Bank and Russian, interests. But just staying on this, the fact that another horrible thing has happened this day, and the whole same thoughts and prayers bullshit from one side, the whole absolutely make it about
mental health,
which, okay, you know what? Let's play devil's advocate for a second. It's not about the guns. It's about mental health. Okay, I then why was it the first piece of legislation shitbag signed was to repeal the only gun legislation that was able to get through during the Obama administration was to restrict certain people with certain levels of mental issues. And I forget, we talked about this. I don't know the term, but
rescinding.
Well, no, like the mental people. Like, if you can't handle your own checkbook, if you're not allowed to like live on your own and make those decisions, like that was the only thing. It's like, oh, you can't handle a checkbook. Okay, we're not going to let you have a gun. That was the only piece of legislation Obama was able to get through. But the very first piece of actual legislation that Bloda signed was to repeal that. So, and then again, you look at the budget and you look how it's gutted all the social services. It's gutted all the money, or a lot of the money earmarked for mental health issues. So how the fuck do these guys get away with standing up there saying it's a mental health issue, and then turn around and do everything to make it easier for people with mental problems to get a gun?
You know what I'm crazy about? Gun control.
Yeah.
That's what I'm crazy about. Gun control. Taking AR-15s out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. Fuck them. Nobody on this planet that is not in the military needs to have an assault rifle in their possession. Period.
Nope. Even cops.
And Jim, I don't want to go to an assault rifle range. Thanks for the invitation. I don't want to feel the sweet pre-cum ejaculating from my penis as I'm pulling the trigger on something that could potentially kill multiple people within a matter of seconds. Don't care. Don't want it. Don't need it. Back to you, Jacques.
No, we talked a little bit about like the stupid arguments that always come up. That cars kill people. Yes, people die every day in cars.
You know what else kills people? Gravity.
Let's do a number on me. Oh.
But we get it. But as Seth MacFarlane tweeted earlier today to somebody regarding, cars kill people, you're going to ban all cars, and, you're mixing up correlation with I forget what it was. But the bottom line is, he had to clarify, yes, the primary function of cars is to transport people from one place to another. The primary function of a gun is to make people not alive anymore. And that's it. And
like we talked about it, it's like, okay, cars weren't safe for a long period of time, so they've gotten safer. They had seatbelts. That saved X amount of lives. Then they installed airbags. That saves more lives. You have to take driving lessons. You have to pass a written test. You have to have insurance. You have to, every 4 years, go back and prove that you're still competent enough, or that your vision's good enough to drive a car, or that you have to have insurance, whether you hurt somebody hits you, whatever.
Unless you're an elderly person, then you can just go the fuck wherever you want. Yeah. Malls.
But it's funny that you
parks.
Say elderly person. Even elderly people like Florida, where they have to, everybody drives like golf carts. Those still have to be regulated, and you still have to have certain features on it to be able to drive anything. You have to.
Sidebar: whatever happened to the rash of elderly drivers killing people? Have school shootings eclipsed that?
I believe so.
Am I hearkening back to an age of American history fondly when all we had to worry about were old people driving cars through? Yeah, I miss those days.
But again, it's like, okay. Drunk driving. There are laws. And now here's the other thing, like you were talking about, when people say, well, it doesn't matter if you pass laws. Bad guys are still going to get the guns. It's true.
Yeah.
It's 100% true. Not every bad guy, you can't regulate everything, but it doesn't mean you don't try. Like, people are going to shoplift, so what are we going to do? Not have stores? No. You install cameras, you install like security, you take steps to kind of prevent what you can, knowing, yes, bad things are going to happen. There's always going to be assholes out there.
Look, people are going to smoke weed no matter what. Bad people are going to find the weed, so why even
But anything else, and this is the fucking scary thing about the NRA. Every other industry, every other walk of life, maybe that's the wrong word, but every other industry out there, something awful happens and steps are taken. Like, and you pointed out, one asshole tried to blow up a plane with his shoes.
Right. Well, yeah, I saw that point on Twitter. Everything I learn is on Twitter, folks. But one asshole takes the initiative to plant a shoe bomb, and now we all have to take off our shoes before we go to the airport, or not before we go to the airport, when we're going through a checkpoint at an airport. But here we are, mass shooting number, what is it? Number 239 shootings this year. Or I'm looking at your stats. 239 shootings, 16 mass shootings.
Oh, that's since Newtown. Since Newtown. And again, like when Newtown happened, it's the most unthinkable thing. Now it's thinkable. And I remember 2 years ago when the little guys and I drove across here, the country from California. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning when we were coming through, and I wasn't thinking about like, oh, I'm in Connecticut now. When I went through and you see the town like entering Newtown. Honestly, I cried. It was a few years later. I'm just driving, and honestly, it still hit me that hard.
What are you, Jimmy Kimmel, pussy?
And the fact that nothing fucking changed after that. Nothing changed after that. Yeah, so I ran a few stats that Joe was looking at. Since Newtown, 239 school shootings. 16 of them are mass shootings. What they classify. And I can post the link of the nonprofit that I found these stats from, and then I looked at 2 other places to back them up. What they classified a mass shooting is 4 or more people shot, and also a school shooting has to happen in school hours. So if there's something after school on a school property, that doesn't count.
Yeah, you can murder janitors on your own time. That's fine.
But this is just during school hours since Newtown. 239, school shootings, 16 of the mass shootings.
Mass! Oh, no, that kind of mass.
438 people shot, 139 killed. Now, that's kindergarten through the 12th grade. That doesn't count the
Virginia Tech,
the Oregon, the community college out in Oregon and all that stuff.
Oh, right.
And
I forgot that mass shooting.
Well, and we talked about that mass shooting. The sheriff of that town was a Newtown truther who on his Facebook page over the years had posted and reposted videos saying that the parents were actors, that it didn't really happen. And then it happened in his town. And I will never forget him blubbering, standing at the microphone saying, I can't believe what I did to that community and those families. I never thought something like that could really happen, and now it happens in my own town.
Can it happen in Alex Jones's own studio?
Dude,
what a piece of shit.
That would be the best.
Oh, my God. I would love to take a shit on his face
he
non-sexually.
Has kids. Like, how do you just...
You're mathematically thinking, how could Alex Jones have kids?
I mean, seriously, how is he? But staying on this topic. But since Newtown, nothing's changed. And again, okay, the argument of security at school. There was an armed guard at this school. This town. I don't remember. Was it the most safest community in Florida or in the U.S.? Either way, let's just say it was just Florida. It's a safe white community that had an armed guard at it.
It could be a safe black community.
It could be anywhere, right. And that's the whole.
Yeah.
And the fact that these shootings happen. Let's just go down the list. In the last few years, schools, churches, movie theaters.
Right.
I mean, it's like, and yet we will not do anything. 19 assholes, hijacked a few planes. 17 and 19 came from Saudi Arabia. We've not done anything about it.
They're a very friendly country.
But we instantly shut down the airports until we could figure it out. We installed metal detectors. You can't get on the planes without box cutters. You can't even get into the terminals.
Trump still wants to ban Muslims from entering the United States.
Right.
Still.
But and every time something like this happens, And again, when something like this happens, when it happened in England, the terrorist attack, and he's like, these scumbag, or when it even happens here, and he's like, these pieces of shit scumbag. I mean, his awful, awful tweets about. And again, this is a guy who, after DNA evidence exonerated the 5 kids in the Central Park 5, he still wanted them to be executed. Hasn't come out and said, well, this guy's a douchebag. What? No, because he's white. I mean, and he, and I don't get how the NRA is able to control our presidents. Not one, plural. I mean, the fact that they are that influential scares the living shit out of me. And again, knock on wood, I'm not hoping it happens. I'm not wishing anything. But as far as I can keep score, out of the 18 school shootings this year, how many were done by ISIS?
What's 235 minus 235?
Yeah, Al Qaeda. How many of these school shootings have been done by dreamers, immigrants, bad hombres from Mexico? I mean, it's like these are all.
I'll take that and I'll counter you. How many were done by white supremacists?
I don't know, but I'm going to say most, if not all. White and it's scary. It's like you and I are the most horrible people on the world because we're white, well, not Christian, but we're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there hasn't been a mass shooting. Any of these school shootings have never been done by women or girls.
Hashtag me too.
Fun fact.
Hashtag time's up. Wait a second.
But seriously, it's like every other industry. And we talked about it. Like, what was it? Was it the 30s, the Coconut Grove fire in Boston?
Yes.
Awful, awful, awful thing happened. So instantly, they changed the laws across the country about, number of exits and stuff like that.
Yeah, like how many emergency exits you have to have.
I mean, and again, yes, did that prevent every fire from ever happening? No. The fire at the Great White Concert in Rhode Island 15 years ago, whenever it was. I mean, but you changed the laws about pyrotechnics and clubs after that.
Yeah, but you know what? Firing off rounds and rounds and rounds of bullets in your backyard or in the woods or at a range is a lot more fun than burning down the Coconut Grove. It's kind of hard to, in your personal life, build a nightclub, populate it, and then burn it down for enjoyment.
That's true. And again, the sad thing is, like, we've never, you and I on our fledgling little show here have never talked about the Vegas shooter a few weeks after it happened. It's cycled out of the news. 520 some people got hurt. 59 died. Thousands upon thousands of rounds. This guy had amassed something like 40 some guns, and we never talked about it.
You know what's funny about how people say we never talk about these shootings, it cycles out? Yes, that's true. However, let's take it from a completely objective standpoint. It's the news's job. Basically, we're getting all of our information and we're getting all of our information about recent events, current events from the news cycle. They're reporting on things that have happened. Now, why aren't we talking about mass shootings 2 weeks after they've occurred? Because there are no further developments. And why is that? It's not because people don't care. It's not because the news media is like, oh man, this is boring. Let's move on. No, they're covering the next thing. It's their job to report what's happening in the now. And if there were legislation happening to curb, gun shootings, mass shootings, if there was common sense gun law being actively worked on, then yes, the media would be talking about it, and then in essence, the country would be talking about it. So stop blaming stop blaming us, like two dickhead podcasters, for not talking about mass shootings weeks after a mass shooting. A, it's fucking depressing. B, we don't have any power. Normal people, for the most part, aside from, every year on a Tuesday in November, have very little power when it comes to making change, unless unless you can motivate legislators to do so.
And I don't know, honestly, how many more of these have to happen before they say it? Because
30.
I mean,
no answer.
I don't even think so. And we talked about it. So today, as we're driving here, this post on Sunday night, it's Friday night, and Eric Trump is tweeting out like family photos from Mar-a-Lago. It's saying how beautiful it is here and what a great night it is. They're just an hour away from where children are being buried. No tweets about our thoughts are with them. It's like, look at our life. Look at how great we still are.
I think they did that. Honestly, I could give two shits about like Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr. As far as, there again, it goes back to what I just said. It's not necessarily Eric Trump's responsibility to all. I mean, he should not be tweeting about his family in his glorious life all the time, nor should he be dwelling on. I mean, at some point it becomes disingenuous to like. Do you want Eric Trump to just be tweeting?
No, but being an hour away from there to maybe have. Well, then again, I mean, so Blotus gets to the mic, doesn't say the word gun one time. I mean, that's how powerful the NRA wouldn't even let him say the word gun.
I also follow somebody on Twitter who goes, he's one of these cartoon avatar people, very funny. He goes by the name of Krang T. Nelson. And he said right after the shooting, I'm wishing, what did he say? Looking forward to the NRA's 6-day vacation. The NRA's Twitter's guy's 6-day vacation. I just mangled that fucking joke, but essentially, the NRA will be silent for about a week after a shooting like this,
unless
it's done by a Negro,
right?
Okay,
or
an ISIS,
black person, brown person, Muslim person, anybody but a white Christian male. And as you said, it's like, isn't it a coincidence that the year after the KKK was, labeled a terrorist organization, the NRA popped up?
Yeah, that's according to something I saw on Michael Moore's Bowling for Columbine, but
which anyway,
haven't fact checked that.
So let's
checked it. Shut up, Joe.
No, it's all. But that's the thing. It's like the fact that one side, I'm so fucking tired of Republican shitheads and apologists saying, oh, both sides are the same. Both sides do it. No. One side is trying to get gun legislation. The other side is fighting hard to absolutely every time one of these things come out say it's not the time to talk about it now, thoughts and prayers. But yet the only legislation brought to the floor by any Republican that I can remember is silencers and pro-silencers. And even it didn't happen. They postponed the vote. But in Florida, the shooting happens on Wednesday. On Thursday in Tallahassee, they were set to vote on this big, pay attention now because it sounds like I'm completely making this up, an agriculture bill. And
but that has nothing to do with the shooting.
It doesn't, which that with logic would say. But in the 98th page of the agriculture bill that they were set to vote on, there's a provision in there that says if you apply for a concealed carry permit, you have to have it issued within 90 days, even if the background check isn't done yet. It has nothing to do. There's no mention about guns before or after. They just sneak that in there. And so here it is, Florida. There are so many states, and the biggest problem with not having a national rule on guns it's here's so many states making it easier for people with mental disabilities and mental issues to get guns and going out of their way to do it. And it's like, yes, Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the country, yet they have the most shootings because all the guns come in from Indiana where you can get them at McDonald's, I think.
You know why they put that provision in?
I do not.
Agriculture bills are boring.
They really
and
are.
They need something to spice it up. But really, to be honest, my theory is that what happens to gun sales after shootings?
They go up through the roof.
So, of course, they want to cash in on this. Supposedly, they're just speculating. They're like stock speculating. We know that the gun sales are going to go up. There was just a shooting. We got to get this provision in that says, no holds barred. Background checks be damned. You get your guns in 90 days or your pizza's free.
They did after the Vegas shooting because, there's a thing, and I don't really understand it. I don't actually really want to understand it, but a bump stock that makes a semi-automatic gun basically an automatic gun. Yep. And so the only thing they were able to pass is a short moratorium. Thank you, on being able to sell them. But that didn't matter that got passed because within days of the Vegas shooting and people heard that they might be, banning them, they were sold out, like literally sold out. The manufacturer was out. Because people like you said, as soon as there's a gun shooting, people have to run out and get more guns.
You know why there are no gun commercials on television?
I do not.
You don't need them.
Yeah. Oh, well done. And again,
wait.
he just dropped the mic and the mic stand, which is made of lead, literally. But it's that, Joseph. That is fantastic.
I almost dropped it on the recorder, which would have been great for all of you out there.
But again, like we've joked about it, like you can't sell Kinder eggs. You can't sell Kinder eggs in the United States.
I don't even know what a Kinder egg is because it's not sold in the United States.
No, we've talked about it where my boys a few years ago, they got obsessed with watching people open these Kinder eggs online. It was a big thing. We went to all these stores, went to like 3-4 different retailers. Then finally management looked up online. It's like, oh, well, maybe I'll just order them and find out. No, you can't. They're in Canada. You can buy them in Mexico. You can huge in Europe. All over the world. You can't sell them here because they're a choking hazard for children. And Kinder, and I've posted it before, and I will post this this week. It's the greatest advertisement. Speaking of advertisement, it's 2 kids, a boy and a girl, probably 6-7 years old. One of them is holding an assault rifle. One of them is holding a Kinder egg, and it says, which is illegal in America. And then when you look at the numbers, United States, Americans, we only make 5% of the world's population, but we have something close to 49% of all civilian arms are owned by the 5% of Americans. And of all the Americans that own guns, here's the scariest thing. 3% of gun owners own 50% of all the guns. So
we are a scaredy cat bitch country. We are all bitches.
But what that means is, well, that's the thing. It's like gun owners aren't a big voting bloc. Less than half the people own guns, and of the people who own guns, very, very few. We hear about these horrible things, but very few gun owners. The large majority of gun owners own a shotgun, own a hunting rifle, own a pistol or whatever for protection. Those people, every stat that you see, it's between 80-some and 90-some percent of gun owners don't want crazy people to be able to get machine guns. And when you think that only 3% of gun owners own 50% of the gun, that means, like the guy in Vegas who had 18, 19 guns in the room with him, and then when they inspected his house, raided his house, there was 17, 18 more guns there. Those are the guys that you really want to be able to have a national database. Hey, why is this guy buying his 10th one of these guns?
Did you know that 3% of the gun owners in America own 50% of the guns? That's not right.
I see. When I say it, it's whatever. But when Senator Sanders says it, it has such a ring of distinction.
By the way, speaking of Sanders, you know that Reba McEntire is the new Colonel Sanders for Kentucky Fried Chicken. When is Bernie Sanders going to be the new Colonel Sanders? You think slam dunk, right?
Well, they're a Southern company.
Oh, right.
He's,
Well, Jim Gaffigan was a Colonel Sanders.
Was he? Yeah, he was.
But he also, I think, supplies 25% of their revenue because he's a frequent eater of fast food.
So happier news or interesting news tonight, honestly, as I'm driving to Joseph's humble abode, 13 indictments came down on 13 different Russian individuals were indicted today and 3 different Russian companies. Rosenstein, when he gave his press, was very, very careful about how he phrased things. And he said there was no American involvement with these indictments. There was no known American involvement. Nobody knowingly helped them. And what these indictments are all about, and they're all in Russia, so the indictments mean shit. Russia's not going to extradite people over here. But what they found is exactly what we knew, that there was 3 companies that were very well funded, that were spending about $1.5 million a month. And it was an online campaign of misinformation, and they were buying lots of ads and stuff like that were very misleading ads. And they were, coming up with dummy shell companies like, the Jesus Coalition, like StrongerBordersForAmerica.com, like all these very
jingoistic and patriotic sounding companies,
and targeting certain, voting blocks,
Right.
And especially in the quote unquote purple states. Like one of the oligarchs who funded this, had a conversation and heard the term purple states and like targeted all of these for like the Floridas, for the Virginias, for the the Wisconsins, the states that aren't all either red or blue. And it was very, very carefully worded, his statement that that the Trump administration jumped on instantly and said, and it's one of those things. It's like on one side, I wanted them to come out and say, "Yep, here's the smoking." Let's not use that term. Here's a hand in the cookie jar. There, we caught them, and there was collusion.
We caught them red-handed.
See what he did there? Now, are you saying red because of red states, or are you doing it because of Russia, Mother Russia?
A little from column A, a little from column B.
So that's why you're the smart one. That makes me the hot one. Anyway, yeah, I'm laughing.
Sorry, ladies, he's taken.
Sorry, dudes, I'm taken. Or am I? Right, hello?
Right.
So
DM me later.
But but the indictment came out. The indictment's 13, and it 100% shows that, yes, Russia absolutely attacked. And it was great. It was Andy Richter, like, as soon as it comes out, he's like, question one, why the hell hasn't the sanctions gone into effect that legally was supposed to go into effect January 1st that was voted on 517 to 5? He had the numbers broken out. 517 to 5. I think there's a couple of Republicans in there. And the sanctions haven't gone into effect. Two, now that the indictment has come out that shows, yes, here's another way that they were involved in this. And so, and now this is a great doublespeak of Blotus in the White House. Russia had nothing to do with the election. Nothing to do with the election. And now that this came out, it goes, well, see, it shows that there was no collusion. Okay, but you're acknowledging then that something did happen. So did nothing happen at all, and these indictments are just bullshit?
Look, thoughts and prayers, all right? Get off my fucking back.
So, I mean, I'm just hoping that the other shoe drops, because like I said, there were these indictments, there was no willing conspirators,
Wink, wink.
Right. But that's again, so when Blotus comes out and it's like, Russia didn't help. And the scary thing is,
They didn't hoard either.
you look at some of the states that he won and the thin margins, that he won in. It's like, but they also said these indictments and what these people did didn't affect the election. Now, they're still investigating. Did they get into the voting machines, which we know in 21 states they did.
And by the way, there is known, I think I saw a report a couple of days ago that the FBI is now acknowledging that they're looking into, or they have proof that Russia is actively looking into hacking voting machines for the next election.
Well, so I'm not great with names. You know that, Teddy. And see what I did there?
Yeah, no, I'm holding for laughter.
Okay.
Which you should also.
But Reality Winner was the name of the woman who worked at Homeland Security. She came out with that memo, and this is going back 6 months, that they said, yes, 21 states. And now that it came out in the news about 2 weeks ago, people are like, oh, this is the first time we're hearing it. It's like, no, the whistleblower 6 months ago came out and said this. Yes, Russia got into it. So again, the fact that no Republican who voted for the sanctions is standing up saying, Mr. Blotus, You legally have to have these sanctions go into place. So they can when they run for re-election next, say, hey, I voted for the sanctions, But here's the scarier thing than what has happened in the election. To date, as we sit here, mid-February, 14 months later, zero by the FBI, Homeland Security, and there was a Senate hearing this week. And here are the heads of the intelligence, apparatuses that we have flat out saying, no, there's been no new policies enacted. We have no new divisions created to fight this. We have no plan. And finally, there was one senator who's like, I've been hearing about this for the last decade about the cyber warfare and about we've been attacked by China. We've been attacked by North Korea. Now we know that the Russians have hacked our election. What the fuck are we doing to stop it? Because, and again, you just said, yeah, every 2 years we go to the polls the first or the second Tuesday in November. It doesn't fucking matter. It's like, I mean, the disenfranchising and all this stuff, but the fact that our Senate and our Congress voted 517-5 to enact sanctions because we are at war with Russia. Russia completely not just meddled, like, I don't know how to say it. I mean, what is the difference? They picked our president. They picked local judges. They picked all these things. You go down the line. The worst thing about it is, again, getting back to the guns, getting back to 9/11. Usually when something bad happens, when people won't stop drinking and driving their cars, we have laws, and then when they don't stop, we make the laws harder, and then when they don't stop, we have checkpoints. We do things to try to prevent it. We do things to prevent shoe bombers from happening. And again, a very funny comedian who said, "Couldn't it have been a woman trying to light her bra on fire?"
My weak Trump
that was.
whistle.
You want to do that again? That was pretty.
Well, there we go.
So we can't talk about the ADA being gutted.
No, no.
just really
Next
quick.
week.
The ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, they just gutted the last couple of days for no reason. There was no pending legislation. It wasn't built into anything else. They just decided, hey, those people in wheelchairs and the blind just have it too sweet and easy. And who runs on a platform? Has any senator or congressperson ever run on the "let's fuck the disabled" platform?
No. No, I don't think anybody has. But I just weep for all those ramp builders out there who are just out of a job.
Right. Okay. So let's get back to what we're really here about.
What?
The comedy. And again, so that we can make our racist jokes, as long as we acknowledge it's Black History Month. Right?
Asterisk on we. Jacques can make his racist jokes.
But it being Black History Month, a couple things. I'm going to go see the Black Panther tomorrow. Very excited about it.
Good. Yeah, I heard awesome movie.
I'm hoping that I don't get beat up.
Bye.
Oh, okay. So that's the biggest thing that's been going around the net today. All these trolls out there, and I mean not one or two people. All these trolls posting fake pictures of people with like bashed up faces saying,
I just saw Black Panther, and I'm a white person.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And that one of the Twitter followers, Hoaxeye, that I follow, had tons of these going around.
I am legitimate American moviegoer, and I get beaten up by the Negro, Black Panther.
But there's that scare campaign. I'm so looking forward to seeing that. We're taking the little guys. We're taking a friend of the podcast, Sam, is going to go with us. Very, very looking forward to seeing.
I am looking forward to a full review.
I will
privately. Well, no, actually, yeah, just shut up about it. Just keep it to yourself because I want to go see it too, and it should be exciting. And I'm glad that you're psyched to see it, and you're not one of these on the fence. Well, I don't really know much about Black Panther, and yeah, it's Marvel, but I'm not as psyched about this as I am about Thor 3, and
Well, and you called it out last week. No, I wasn't as psyched about it because I didn't know it, and you're like, you love Guardians. It's like, and this is part of the universe.
Yeah.
And
it's Marvel, and it's supposed and just from not even seeing the previews, if you just hear from the feedback, like Black Panther's fucking awesome, Black Panther's, you're gonna love it, just the hype around it is positive. And
I'm a big DC guy. I'm more DC than Marvel, but Marvel hasn't made a shitty movie. Well, they haven't made a shitty movie in a while. And honestly, I don't think. I mean, no, the last Thor wasn't my favorite movie. I loved the last Thor, but I didn't like it. Because there was things I didn't like.
Different things, yeah.
But they're great movies. They're fun movies. I've never walked out of anything like Marvel in the last 10 years and I feel cheated. Like that was 2 hours.
That was a cash-in kind of thing.
Right.
Well, maybe Iron Man 2. But Iron Man 2 had its moments.
Iron Man 2 had some great moments. Right, but that's one of the ones. it was worth seeing on the big screen. It had enough things blowing up, and I liked Iron Man 2. Yeah, it's like I did not love Iron Fist on Netflix, but I didn't pay for it.
Sorry, Black History Month. We were starting to talk about Black Panther, and then we veered into White Bill.
So like we said last week, we were going to talk about some of our favorite like pioneering black comics, and
of course I remembered to write something down. So you go first, though.
Red Fox.
Yes.
Red Fox, and like we know him and love him as Fred Sanford, which
I'll give you 5 of these.
I'm coming, Elizabeth.
Big dummy.
This is a big one. I mean, it is one of the shows that, again. Seriously, you.
I need some water.
I wish I could quit you, but
Go on.
I mean, because of my age, I mean, I remember watching that. It's one of my favorite. I mean, I was a junkie, a TV and a sitcom junkie then, but I've never seen it in reruns and not been like, this is just great. This is just really, really great. And it's another show that I don't think you could do today. You know?
No, absolutely not. And speaking, Red Fox was obviously more than just Sanford and Son, but that's what we know him from. Did you listen to any of the party records?
Oh, that's because again, episode 4, Daddy's Issues. When my dad decided he didn't want to be a dad and go to Buffalo, one of the only things that he owned that he left behind is a wall of comedy albums, and that's how I got into all the Bill Cosby and stuff like that. But he did 50 plus of those like party albums. He was considered the king of the party album.
He was the original Tupac. Just putting out albums after.
But he did. He was also one of the first. He wasn't the first, but one of the first black comedians to headline on the Sunset Strip in front of mostly white audiences. And a lot of black comics were really not thrilled with him because he was so raunchy. And he was like, they were like, hey, you're gonna it's gonna make it harder for us to get gigs and stuff like that. You're gonna scare Whitey off. Of course, he didn't listen to them. He went on to have an incredibly huge career. But again, he's one of those people who, you're talking, he before the civil rights movement was, a huge national touring comic. And again, it's like, the early 50s, a good, decade before the civil rights movement, was breaking through the barrier and playing for Whitey. Of course, like he outlived his money and he had some issues in the waning years.
He died on the set of his last sitcom.
Yeah, I forget the name of DeLuise.
It was like Grand Hotel or something like that, or I forget what it was called. But yeah, like it was like between takes or something like that, or between dress and tape or whatever. And he went backstage and took the dirt nap, as you say.
But we
by the way, another Red Fox moment. I wish I could tell this story as well as Gilbert Gottfried can on his podcast about how Red Fox liked the ladies a lot, and apparently he was what was he? He was in his dressing room and he was being pressured to go on stage. It was like 20 minutes late or something. I'm mangling the story. I'm kind of paraphrasing the story, and people are, they're knocking on his door. Finally, somebody barges into his room, and he's being serviced by a couple of women, and they're like, Red, you got to go on, and he's like, can a man relax?
You relax your way, I relax my way. But he's one of those guys where, again, because of Joe's age, my age, like we know Richard Pryor, and it's like when you would hear or read interviews with Pryor, who was always lamenting that like Red Fox was his hero growing up. I mean, that just says a lot. So, in honor of Black History Month, I'm giving my whitey nod to the great Red Fox.
Do I have to do one?
You do not have to do
All
one.
right, I was scrounging the internet, scouring the internet for a black comedian that I was inspired by. Because I have a very, very poor memory. Unless I see something, then it triggers a memory.
Well,
I have one.
you've talked a lot about Dick Gregory
I have not.
when he died.
Well, that's because it was in the news.
Oh, all right.
But I was going to just mention Keenan Ivory Wayans.
I'll take it.
Keenan Ivory Wayans, pioneering comedian. I mean, obviously, the Wayans family is legendary, but were it not for Keenan Ivory Wayans starting in Living Color, and we would not know who the fuck Jim Carrey was, or we would not know who David Allen Greer was, or Damon Wayans, or Sean Wayans, or Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Lopez, Rosie Perez.
I mean, how many people owe their career to him?
Yeah, no, it was that show in Living Color. I remember how fucking awesome it was to see like really raunchy, edgy comedy in prime time being accessible to a kid like myself, and it introduced me to a culture that I'm not familiar with. I don't know if you know me. I'm a white guy. I grew up around other white people, some other non-white people, but for the most part, I got a lot of my cultural upbringing from television, and Living Color just brought that flavor that was so desperately needed to this white boy's home, and just like the cast of characters, I mean, I can go on, and we could probably do a sideshow on In Living Color for just me. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Oh yeah, no, it's like it's funny that you said like Jim Carrey in that Jim Carrey documentary where they had clips of him rapping.
Yes,
it's like, wow, was he 12?
Right. Yeah, but Keenan Ivory Wayans, I mean, he wrote "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker." Yep. I don't know. I honestly, I can't do a thorough biography on Keenan Ivory Wayans, but just the fact that he existed and still exists, and he created a show that was so influential to so many, young people like myself, and it was fucking cool. Like it was just like Arsenio was cool-ish, for the time, but In Living Color was the shit. I mean, it was actually like forbidden watching in some circles. Like parents would not let their kids watch In Living Color because it was too raunchy.
It's funny when you're talking about how many people a launching pad and stuff like that. That daytime show that I absolutely despise. Just for laughs? Is that
Funny You Should Ask?
Funny You Should Ask? Oh my God. It's like, the mother-in-law who, honestly, when she gets up, she walks in the living room, sits down, and watches that same station. I don't know if she knows how to change the channel, but she watches all those game shows. And I told Joe, it's like, and we talked about it on the show, it's like, I've gone to the gym, and it's like, I've looked up, and it's like, oh my God, I hate all these fucking people. I hate everything about. And then every time I have to come down to the kitchen,
this is the third time. I'm laughing because this is the third time.
I know. But,
literally the third time you brought up Funny You Should Ask.
But
and is there a point to this story?
There is,
because there was no point to my Keenan Ivory Wayans story.
So J.J. Walker was on the other day.
Yeah,
and he was asked a question. Who was the comedian? And they showed a picture, and it was Byron Allen.
Yep.
Who was 18 years old at the time, David Letterman and Jay Leno in a room together, and they got together once or twice a week because they were comedy writers. Who were they a comedy writer for? And J.J. Walker said, he made some stupid joke because everything they say is a fucking stupid joke. And he says, like, Rodney Dangerfield. And the woman's like, I think he's right. And it's like, nope. They were J.J. Walker's writing team that he had seen Byron Allen, who was like 18 at a comedy club, and he was just killing it, And so he invited him in to his already once a week, twice a week for $200 a pop meeting And his comedy writers were Jay Leno, David Letterman, and Byron Allen.
Wow. I'm just surprised that Jimmy Walker had a stand-up career after Good Times.
He actually did.
Yeah.
You know,
I never saw him but I'm not being sarcastic about it. I did not realize that he had a stand-up career after Good Times. You know, like I didn't see a lot of his stand-up appear on television or in clips.
check the YouTube. Go to the Google machine.
All right.
It's not groundbreaking.
Okay.
You know, actually, it's more. It's funny when you think about clean cut or milk toast Jay Leno
Yeah.
and even a younger David Letterman and stuff like that. But it was more observational stuff. But he had and of course, like back then, just because he was on TV, he could have a successful, comedian, career for a good, decade after. But
Woo, look at the time.
we talked about Black Panther. We talked about black comedians. We're not racist.
Right. I'm not.
But we are poor, so let's go to a defunct sponsor.
TWA presents the difference between getting you where you're going and leading the way. Taking that extra step to make flying the best it can be. That's what makes TWA one tough act to follow.
So things didn't work out the way that I wanted to a couple weeks ago, so I've been pretty much buried my head in the sand. I was eating up a good 14 hours a day of sports talk radio, but I buried my head in the sand. But just before I buried my head in the sand, we had talked about it on this podcast that Tom Brady had released a Tom vs. Time series, and one guy on a local station on WEEI had said something disparaging about his daughter, and it went out of his way, but I guess she was in the background being a pain in the ass, and he said, she was a little pissy and upset Tom. The guy got suspended from the radio station, and it was a big to-do for, the week leading into that event. And anyway, so since then, this past week, another person on the same station, Christian Fourier, who was on the New England Patriots 2003-2014, that didn't make me cry. And actually, I probably cried, but for the good cheers. He's one of the co-hosts of the afternoon show, and thinks he's a big crank caller. That's like one of his bits, and he calls other radio stations, other sports stations around the country, and he tries to get on. He's a big part of the sports media landscape here. Other than the show, he's on like one of the two TV stations here, sports TV stations. Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady have the same agent, who is of Asian heritage, whose name is Don Yee. Born and raised here in the United States. But Fourier had made one of his prank phone calls trying to call a sports writer as Don Yee, saying he had a big scoop on the Jimmy Garoppolo thing.
Oh, I wonder how this is going to go.
Big Jerry Lewis.
With 3, you get egg roll?
Yeah, yes. He decided he's going to go with the over-the-top. Now,
Miso Sali?
I wish
no.
I wish I could do impressions well enough, because my mother-in-law, mentioned twice on this show, former North Korean refugee and immigrated here from South Korea from 45 years ago, learned to speak English from her boyfriend, then husband, management's father, who was from Boston with a very Boston accent. So my mother-in-law has the most awesome broken Asian English with a Boston accent that, it's hysterical and it's great. And the first time I went to meet her, like, management had said, all right, when she talks, Just don't laugh, you know. Anyway, so Christian Fourier thought it'd be hilarious to make this phone call, you know, as Don Yee using that. Why do I tell you this? Because he instantly got suspended, and now this past Friday, WEEI completely everybody, every on-air personality, mandatory 10-hour sensitivity training thing.
Wow.
Like they ended up having to
They played tapes.
No, they actually got like Mike Furio, who has like a football show, like who has a 3-hour like daily show, like a syndicated show. They got him to do a 6-hour block of programming, and I don't know what starting. Honestly, they go on live at like 5:30 in the morning.
We need you to do a 6 to 6 shift. Can you handle that?
So literally every person on the station, and we're talking, some of these guys are like 30, 40-year vets. Now, granted, I'll speak for myself. I'm a complete like liberal snowflake, but I don't get offended by, you know, much things. And I think the guy who got suspended,
You do the offending.
I do, but seriously, it's the fact that it's like, what's the line between just fucking stupid and being racist? Now,
I don't know, but when you find it, let me know.
like Fourier, I don't know his ethnicity. He's not a white dude.
Ethnicity.
6 of one, 2 dozen of the other. But seriously, he's not like a white dude. I don't know like his background. You know, he has some sort of like degree of permatan. So I don't know. It's like, and and again, he's trying to be funny, but it's just funny that it has shut down. On the other hand, you know, there was, and I actually did not know the guy's name. Was I smart enough to write it down here? Yeah, Patrick Connor, San Francisco sports radio personality, has an afternoon show there, who's also does a podcast via Barstool, talking about the 17-year-old snowboarder.
Is her name Chloe Kim?
Kim, yeah. Referred to her as a hot piece of ass.
Well, in San Francisco, 17 is the age of consent.
Yeah, I'm quite sure.
For Olympic, gold medal winners.
I mean, and again, it's like I'm not jumping back on the Time's Up Me Too bandwagon here, but it's like, really, do you talk about other Olympian athletes like that? I mean, it's like, first of all, it's just degrading and stupid. And yes, do I say, look at that model? Isn't she hot? But I mean, and yes, we all watch gymnastics because the 14-year-old girls in the skimpy outfits. No, but seriously, it's like, dude, it's like, when do you, and especially with what's gone on, this wave, like 6 months now, it's been going on, a year, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's just sort of very tone deaf to the culture.
I mean, now, are you suspending him for saying something offensive or just being a fucking idiot?
Oh, okay. Fair is fair. Did he know that she was 17? I know, like you can say in broad terms, he couldn't not know, man.
Well, no, I mean,
but maybe he just took a look at her and he's probably a big dumb dope like myself.
Yeah,
and like,
but you and I are big dumb dope. But if you're the host of a daily sports talk show and have a sports podcast and you're watching the Olympics, and the amazing thing about her story, one of the amazing things about her story, she was too young to be put on the Winter Olympic team when she was 13. But 4 years ago at the X Games, she won like 3 or 4 gold medals. I mean, and that was the whole story. She's still not even 18, and she's the best snowboarder, you know, that we have, you know, in the world. I mean, she's just the gold medal. But literally that's the way that you have to go. And again, it's like, is it the worst thing I ever said? No, it's just really fucking stupid.
Right. And regardless of whether or not she was 18 or 17 or whatever, it is a dumb comment to make, especially in these troubled times.
If it's Howard Stern saying it, it's a little different.
No, you haven't listened to Howard Stern probably forever, if ever. Howard Stern doesn't even talk like that anymore. Like he's probably the most respectful of like women when it comes to white male radio hosts. He's probably the most respectful.
Then no, I haven't. Yeah. Listen, is it because he has older daughters now who are not young girls who are actually women now?
I guess therapy works.
But so I mean, especially in all this. But while staying on the Olympics, I know you haven't seen any of this. Single-handedly the best rivalry in sports, and I'm going back 12, 15 years now, the women's hockey between Canada and the U.S. there are only 2 women hockey teams, period, the end. I mean, and I mean that. Like, I really would have to think, because they play each other every year in the World Cup of Hockey. You know what I mean? The World Championships. And they have it every single year. Almost every year, 2 out of every 3, 3 out of every 4 years, Team USA wins. But Team Canada has won 3 of the last 4 Olympics. And it's always those 2 teams. I mean, yes, there's like 10, 12 other countries that have teams in there. And you would think, you know, the Soviets and Norway and these teams would field great teams. But Team USA and Team Canada are so far ahead of everybody else. They're not even on the same thing. But every single one of their games goes to overtime, goes to the last minute. And in this game in the round robin just the other night, it truly was a 2-1 game. It wasn't 1970 brawl, but there was a lot of pushing, shoving,
checking.
I mean,
hurting.
Oh no, but there was a big scramble in front of the net afterwards, and there was a big pig pile. And I mean, honestly, it's vicious. Without getting into too much of the backstory, that Joe knows. I had a friend, we'll say, who played pro hockey, and this is going back the 2001, 2, 3 seasons, 2001, 2002, 2003, who played up in Vancouver, and there was a 10-team WNHL, and I think they've brought it back. I think, you know, because I know women's hockey in the Northeast here is huge, but the team that our friend played on was the unofficial U.S. team during the regular season, and then, you know, when it's tournament time, and it was like, you know, the 4 of the 5 in the starting lineup were on the 2000 or was it the 98 U.S. Olympic team? The team in Calgary was the unofficial Calgary training team in every one of those games. It was the same thing. I mean, they were absolute brutal bloodbaths. Those teams truly, 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 truly hate each other.
We paid for blood,
and you get it. And I'm absolutely dead serious. I mean, yeah, it's great that, you know, Team USA won the other day, and 2 of the goals were scored by, you know, the Bruins' #1 like prospect. So that bodes well for them. But if you want to watch 2 teams that absolutely hate each other, that every single shift you get everything that these athletes have, the next time, and I'm quite sure the next time, it will probably be. Oh, I wonder if they're in the same pool.
Yeah.
If they're in the same pool, that I have to look, then they can't. Yeah, I can't imagine that the Olympics would set it up so Team USA wouldn't be playing Team Canada.
Yeah, there's got to be some. I mean, are there seeding? Is there seeding involved? They have prelims and.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're in the round robin now, but however they work it, it's like you have to watch it. And I'm dead serious. It's like, you know, I was talking to, you know, or I texted Biff and John the other day. The rivalry between the Colorado Avalanche and the Red Wings. There was a good 6, 7, 7, 8 years where every time they played each other, whether it was the first week of the season or whether it was, you know, in the conference finals, it was ugly. And I mean ugly in a really good way. That's what you get with Team USA and Team Canada and the Winter Olympics. You know, saying that, that's all I've seen.
I'm reading something online. The United States will play in one of the semifinal matches on February 19th with a chance to face Canada again in the gold medal match.
Okay, good. Then I mean, a chance. There's no way that those 2 teams don't play.
And I think I'm looking at women's hockey here. It's got to be. It's got to be. It says women's hockey at the top.
So, like we've been saying the last few weeks, I have almost zero interest in the Winter Olympics, but that's something, you know, well worth it to tune into.
Awesome. You know what? Sports are dumb.
They are.
Let's talk about video games.
Yes!
Video games.
Yeah, man. It's time for the random video game review of the week.
Jacques' going to go to my sad wall, and he's going to take a sad game.
You don't know what's sad.
It's probably sad. If it lives in my house, it's probably sad. Let's see. So he grabbed a game off my Nintendo shelf. It's somewhere in the L's. I'm looking at the space on the wall to see if I can guess which one of my 200-something jealous games that he pulled off the wall for me to randomly review for you. God, what is it? It's not Legacy of the Wizard. I think that's the name of the game. God, I got to get better eyesight. It's
I don't see so good.
Gee, it wouldn't be Legend of Zelda. No, it's not Legend of Zelda. I give up. No, I was talking about life. The Legend of Kage. Oh, okay. It's spelled Kage. A lot of when I grew up in Legend of Cage, man, and probably Jacques right now. Legend of Cage.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's Legend of Kage by Taito. It's kind of a clunky early platformer. You play a sort of a samurai who's, I guess, trying to rescue his girlfriend from the bad guys. I don't know. You jump around. It's very pre-Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon style. It's you do very high jumps into like trees and stuff, but you have to go into hidden caves to fight bad guys. I don't know. It was a bit clunky. It's not my favorite game. It's the music's kind of basic. It's an okay game. But it's a platformer. It's not like karate stuff. It's more like ninja style combat, but clunkier. So I don't know. I'm going to say that according to a certain Nintendo Entertainment System guidebook written by Pat Contry, Pat the NES Punk on YouTube for all you nerds out there who can't get enough Nintendo, he is probably going to rate it. I'm going to say 2 stars. Let's see if I'm right. 3 stars. Well, fuck me. This is not written by Pat. This review is written by his friend Ian. Rescue Princess Kiri and fend off ninjas and monks through the 4 seasons of this side-scrolling pure action game. The hero, Kage, is equipped with unlimited shuriken and a small sword, as well as incredibly acrobatic jumps. So yeah, I don't know. It's not for me. But
if you didn't own it, how much would you be willing to pay for it?
Probably I'd be willing to pay upwards of $2, but not more than 3. But I'm going to guess that it's probably going for, I'll say $5.99. $1.50. That can't be real.
$2.66 with shipping.
All right, whatever. Yeah, so you know what? They say always go with your first instincts, and I should have. You know what? I would have choked on Price is Right. I would have choked.
Good thing you got on Wheel of Fortune then.
I know, seriously.
All right. You watching anything other than
my weight? No. You keep feeding me with candy.
So this week, my Netflix pick of the week, we got through the first 3 episodes of Lemony Snicket's.
A series of unfortunate events.
I've said this once. I'd say it again. I love Neil Patrick Harris. There's nothing about Neil Patrick Harris I don't love.
Even in Smurfs movies, he was good.
No.
No, the Smurfs movies, bad. He in them, okay.
Hey, everybody's got a Garfield in their repertoire. So
Any regrets?
Garfield, maybe. But seriously, I highly recommend it. It is great. It is a lot of fun. It's very stylized the way they do it. It's very unique. It's very over
the top. It's goofy.
Yeah, it's completely goofy. But he himself is just.
But for those of you who aren't familiar with the books, and I'm familiar with the books because I have kids too. This guy he's Count Olaf is his character.
Yeah,
and he is okay. The story is about these 3 orphans who are heir to a fortune, but the executor of the estate is this Count Olaf, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who is essentially trying to weasel his way. He somehow weaseled his way into the family's good graces so that he become the executor of the estate. But then now he's also trying to off the kids so that he can take the inheritance. But he doesn't just do it outright. I guess he portrays different characters in their universe.
Well, so it's the girl's like 14, the boy's like 12, and then there's an infant child who can speak in like talks in baby talk,
Like not the mama.
but it's Chiron speaks in full sentences.
Oh, I
like
see.
the brother and sister understand what she's saying, and she's very, very smart.
Okay.
Yeah, but like Olaf is trying to find out how he can get hold of the money before, because the kids can't have their wealth until like the oldest one
18.
becomes 18.
Yeah.
So he's an actor. He's bad theater troupe. So he sets up one thing where he's going to have a play where he marries the daughter, and he is prying on the judge across the street, a woman who, an older woman, played by Joan Cusack, and she's great in it. She always wanted to be an actress. Oh, we're going to put you in this play. And long story longer is the play, he's going to marry this girl, but he sets it up so it's a real judge saying the lines and all this stuff.
So that he legally is her husband, so to speak.
And then the thing is, it's like she's too young to legally get married unless has parent consent. And where he's the guardian, he gives the consent.
Was this written by Woody Allen?
Yeah, exactly. But it's a lot of fun. So we've been watching. That's like been a family thing. That we've been watching.
Pedophilia, lots of fun. Okay, not pedophilia, but arranged underage marriages, fun family time.
No,
but isn't there like attempted murder in this
that's
series?
a big word for a 12-year-old. Yeah, he's completely trying to.
It's actually kind of a throwback to a goofier time in like television storytelling. There would be stories like there would be like shows like Goosebumps, and I don't know, you've never seen this show, but like they would have like these really like heavy storylines delivered in a way that was palatable for kids, but it was still a little creepy and it was still a little
No, you nailed it. That's what this is.
Yeah, you don't see that a lot, and I guess thank God for Netflix.
And Neil Patrick Harris is also the executive producer.
Oh yeah, good.
It's great, and it's like I won't watch the trailer, but I guess the trailer for season 2 is out, and I saw on again on Twitter Nathan Fillion,
yes,
who's like, there's no justice in the world. I'm in it once. Neil Patrick is in it 8 times. The season 2 trailer for Lemony Snicket, but it is. I highly recommend it.
Great. Yeah, I haven't really been watching too much Netflix this week, so I'm off.
But you have been what is that? But you have seen Last Jedi, and we will be doing a full sideshow this week.
Great.
Excited, are you?
I am.
And you know what we're going to be talking about? I gave you a hint.
Star Wars?
There you
Hey!
go. Part 2 of the holiday special sideshow. We're doing another one. No, but we will do, because we haven't done our full reviews of it. I know the listener, plural.
Wait, was
No,
singular.
singular, right.
Oh, so close.
So close, but yet so me.
Kind of like the Super Bowl. I just want you to hit me.
Wow. Seriously, with friends like you. Oh, man. Honestly.
Hey, I'm just trying to make good radio, man. Do you have a Shock, do you have a parenting tip? Not a punching me in the face tip. A parenting tip.
Yeah. Went to the little guys had it's the last day before vacation. They had a reading party where the parents could come in and read books with the kids in class. It's like, bitch, what am I paying you for? I'm sending him to school so you teach him to read. Why am I out of the fucking house for 6 or 7 hours?
Is that Chris Rock over there? I can't see so good.
But so I went to it. He's always happy when, you show up for those things, and he's happy, and not every parent can show up to these things, just lucky to be in the situation where I can make most of them. And it's true.
Boy.
I hate you. I'm a consultant. I'm consulting with your face in my fist. That's 0 for 2 there, Joseph. You are on the thinnest of ice. And but seriously, just show up for shit. Even if it bores the crap out of you and you'd rather just be in the back of the room, like, playing Tetris, just show up.
Just like me on this podcast. Just show
up. Don't say horrible things, though.
I am a bully. I'm sorry. I'm a big bully. I've been a bully trapped inside of Wimp's body. I identify as a bully.
So we're going to end on a song. I'm dedicating this
Not
to...
Sanford and Son.
Yeah, actually, how do we top that? You don't. You actually don't.
But we're ending on a real song.
On a real song, because my beloved niece, who and truly I've had nothing to do with this, but she generally likes really great music. She loves bands like Modest Mouse and has for a long time. I'm not all for young people getting lots of tattoos early, because you got a long life to go and you're going to run out of space, and what's really important to you at like 18, 19, and 20 might not at 50. All of my tattoos I would have gotten when I was 10. I got the Batman and the Bobby Orr and all that stuff, and the Hello Kitty. Ladies, small Japanese girls. But so she is a big fan of Pavement, and one of probably the best 25 albums ever is their album Cricked Rain, and so she got the name of the album with the font tattooed on her this week, and she sent it to me. She goes, "Oh, I've already told Mom, so it's okay. I consider that she my sister." And my favorite song off that album is Range Life, so we will end on Pavement's Range Life.
Yeah, thank you, Pavement, by the way, for granting us, full rights to play the song, royalty free.
Sue us. They're gonna come and get Legend of Kage.
Oh no, Legend of Kage, where'd it go? You'll pry that from my cold, dead hands.
Another Super Bowl comment they might have.
Hey, you brought it up this time, my friend. I know you did. See how logic works? So yeah, we're gonna go out on another song, but there was one more thing I wanted to mention. Oh, Chuck, don't forget.
After the glow, the scene, the stage, the set, and talk becomes slow, but there's one thing I'll never forget.